All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get the show on the road here. In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231 of Law 1975, be advised the notice this meeting was made by posting bulletin board, town hall, and mailing to the officially designated newspapers listed in the meeting dates annually, indicating that this meeting would take place at Town Hall at 7 p.m. on February 5th.
Joseph Caulfield.
Present.
Chandra Harjani.
Here.
Regina Truitt.
Here.
Priscilla Serrano.
Here.
Vice Chair Jessica Black.
Here.
Chair Peter Clayton.
Here. We're going to start with approval of minutes of 12/18/23. Any corrections or changes? Who's eligible? Question.
Chandra, Regina, Joe, Jessica Craig.
All those in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, so,
Did we do a motion or?
oh, you have a motion.
You can do a
adopt.
motion to
Okay,
approve
go
the
ahead.
minutes from 12/18/23.
And a second,
I can second.
thank you. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay, moving on to memorialization of the calendar 3957/23, Sag Harbor 407 Hobart Avenue, Short Hills. Any changes or corrections? Who's eligible?
Joe, Chandra, Regina, Jessica Craig.
Can I have a motion on memorialization?
Move approval.
In a second?
I'll second.
Joseph Caulfield.
Yes.
Chandra Harjani.
Yes.
Regina Truitt.
Yes.
Jessica Black.
Yes.
Craig Taylor.
Yes. Next up, we have calendar 3960/23, Arjun and Sheena Rao at 246 Glen Avenue. Any corrections or changes? Same crew?
Yes.
Have a motion in this case?
I can move approval for calendar 3960-23.
Second?
Second.
Joseph Caulfield.
Yes.
Chandra Harjani.
Yes.
Regina Truitt.
Yes.
Jessica Black.
Yes.
Craig Taylor.
Yes. Next, we have calendar 3961/23, Short Hills Gymnastics LLC at 750A Mars Turnpike. Any corrections or changes? Same crew?
Eligible are Joe, Chandra, Jessica Craig.
Have a motion to approve?
Move approval, calendar 3961.
In a second?
I can second.
Joseph Caulfield.
Yes.
Chandra Harjani.
Yes.
Jessica Black.
Yes.
Craig Taylor.
Yes. Lastly, calendar 3962/23, Charles and Margaret Mullins at 17 Windermere Terrace. Who's on?
Joe, Chandra, Jessica, and Craig. Can I just ask one question?
Yeah.
On the dates, is where it says now therefore be it resolved
Yes,
on
so
this
the
2020
date of adoption of the resolution should be tonight.
Okay, this one's the high school. Okay, so
Right,
that's,
that was the one, just so the board recalls, that we had drafted a resolution so the board can consider the totality of the case and the conditions that were imposed before voting on it, but this is the moralization of that
so
resolution.
just change that to February.
Yes, thank you.
Any corrections or changes to that memorialization? If not, can I have a motion from one of those three people?
I move approval for calendar 3962-23.
Thank you. A second?
Second.
Joseph Caulfield,
Yes.
Chandra Harjani,
Yes.
Jessica Black.
Yes.
Craig Taylor.
Yes. All right, as we jump into our agenda this evening, we're going to mix the order up a little bit. We're going to first hear the property located on 53 Sagamore, calendar 3964/23. Then we'll be moving to calendar 3959/23, which is 50 Elmwood. And lastly, this evening, we'll hear 11 Mount Ararat, 3925/23. So, yes, sir?
Yeah, I called this morning, they said that 11 an hour would be the first property to be discussed. This is the third month that I've shown up here. And each time I've come, it's gotten postponed. I was looking forward to,
Well, we're gonna get done tonight. I mean, the order,
at 11 o'clock.
No, not 11 o'clock, but, you know, the board does retain the prerogative to change the order. Mr. Skolnick.
Thank you. Richard Skolnick from my own law firm on behalf of Laura Huber and Jose Mario Valdez. 53 Sagamore is the address, Block 101, Lot 13 on the tax maps. We're in the R4 zone. We have an expansion of an existing single-family home with what we believe to be 3 modest variances. The first is the height of the retaining wall with 2 feet permitted, 6 feet existing and proposed. And as we'll explain, this is the essentially a rebuilding and relocation of an existing retaining wall leading to the garage. The applicant needs to do that to make the geometry functional on the house. There's a wall there that makes access quite difficult. The second variance is to add 1.8 feet, second variance is a 1.8 foot setback in the front yard, 1.8 foot setback deviation to add a portico. The requirement is 58.5 using the averaging, and we're at 56.7. Again, it's 1.8 feet into the front yard and 7 feet 3 inches wide, a modest deviation. We believe it's going to add a nice aesthetic element and also make the house more functional. And then we have a side yard variance. Looking at the house on the right, we're at 11.42 existing with 22 feet required. And we're looking to go straight up to add the second floor and maintain that 11.4. The house is not oversized in our opinion. On building coverage, it's at 6.66% when 14% is permitted. Lot coverage, we're less than half at 17.34 with 35% permitted. Floor area ratio is at about 12% with 26% permitted. So not oversized. There's no steep slope deviation required, even though we're on Sagamore. We do have a bit of an unusual condition with the house to the right in 2 ways. First, they have quite a large setback. So in total, if you look at both houses, you get the setback, the existing structures, although part of the setback is on the other property. And then that house next door has a sort of a large glass enclosure in the rear yard. So we think going up, if there's going to be an addition, going up makes a lot of sense as opposed to going back, because there'd be more of an impact on the neighboring property and that neighboring glass structure. So with that, we have testimony from the architect briefly, Hike Ekshian, and then a little testimony from the civil engineer.
Very good.
Okay, can we have them sworn?
You swear or affirm testimony about the given tonight's proceedings to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Your name for the record, spelling your name.
My name is Hike Ekshian, Hayk, last name Ekshian, Ekshian.
And can you provide your professional qualifications?
I'm a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey. I'm a graduate of New Jersey Institute of Technology. My license is current. I've appeared in front of many zoning boards, including this one, I believe within this year or last year. So is that sufficient?
Your licenses are all
Current,
in
yes.
place and valid? Chairman, I'll submit.
Qualifications are accepted by the board. Please proceed.
Okay, can you go over what we have here? Call out the sheet number and the last revision date. If anything is different than the plan package, let us know.
I'd like to briefly talk about give you an overview of our thought process, how we designed the home. My client, they have a growing family and they need additional space. The house, the addition that we're proposing is well within the FAR requirements. So the house is not oversized for the lot. We looked at how we could make this addition that's going to give them additional bedrooms and living space. And we started looking at the possibilities of addition. So going to the side yard, the 2 side yards were limited. Basically, the house is very close to the right. The existing house is close to the right side yard, and left side yard is really close, still close to the side yard setback. And we're very close to the established front yard setback. The only place to go is either up or back. Now, we rendered this view at the bottom right corner of A4 to show you the backyard. The land really slopes down significantly. And they have a small flat area in the back of the house that they're using as a patio. Taking up that space is going to take away the only outdoor space that they have. Plus, the land is rising, and it's not ideal to have the backyard higher than the first floor of the home. So that only left us the second floor to build on. So because the current house is over the setback line, we're here today asking for that variance over here on the right side. The other variance that we're asking for is very modest. We added a little porch in the front, and I'm going to go through the floor plans to explain better. There's no foyer inside the house, so we needed a space, a landing space where people can take off their jackets and be sheltered from rain and snow, and extended this roof out about, I believe, 4 feet. And it's this roof that's over the front yard setback. It's very minimal. I believe not only this serves as a functional element, it also enhances the front facade of the home quite a bit. You can see this is a great improvement to what is currently there. It's a Tudor style with some modern elements that's going to really improve the streetscape here. I believe what we're doing here, the benefits really greatly outweigh any detriments or variances that we're asking for.
Of course, you wanted to use the location of the existing structure to go up.
Exactly, and that has many other benefits, which I'll let our civil engineer explain in terms of if you were to go towards the back, we may be disturbing steep slopes. It may have issues with grading, drainage, so I'll let her speak about that. Going up is kind of helping us not deal with those other negatives.
So we've got the portico in front, a modest 1 foot, 7 foot front yard setback deviation.
Right,
Got some aesthetic benefits there.
right.
Do you want to talk about the wall, or you want to leave that for Kat?
I'll leave that for Kat.
Okay,
Okay, so I'll just walk you through the
briefly.
briefly the floor plans, so you have a better idea of home.
Call out the sheet number for us that you're on.
Start with the first floor. This is A2, drawing number 1, first floor plan. As you can see, there's a very small porch area, just that entrance before you get into the house. We're using the existing stairs, which is very close to the entrance door. And mostly the footprint is the same as what we have currently. We just shifted some rooms around. You come into a living room, dining room, and then towards the back, we have an open breakfast kitchen area. We have a small library, powder room, and a guest suite. You can see the room sizes are very modest. It's not a large home. On the second floor, we have 2 bedrooms, an office, a hallway bath, and a primary suite. On the first floor, on the basement level, I'm drawing A1. We're not making that many changes. It's pretty much almost the existing layout. We have a existing one-car garage, storage towards the back, mechanical room, and rec room. And page A3 shows you the elevations, which are the 2D drawings of the renderings renderings do a better job showing you how it's gonna look
We'll
in
leave that up
reality.
there since it's a pretty picture.
Okay, that's it. If you have
Okay,
any
the board will have
questions,
questions for you.
I'll,
Any other questions for the architect regarding this application?
I have a question. Was there any thought about taking the second story and pulling that back from the side yard setback?
the amount of spaces that we needed kind of doesn't allow us to do that. Also, it's kind of hard to fit in all the program into, it's a very small area. Because we would have to take away the whole primary suite and then the rest of the spaces because of the stair is very, very small.
Any other questions? Any questions from the audience regarding this testimony?
Okay, Chairman, we'll call our next witness, engineer Kathy Muller. If we could have her sworn, please.
You swear from testimony about the given tonight proceeding to the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth,
Yes,
and your name for the record.
Catherine with a C, Muller, Mueller. I'm owner and principal of Page Muller Engineering in Warren Township, New Jersey. Professional engineer licensed in the state of New Jersey. My license is in good standing. I have a bachelor's of science in civil and environmental engineering from Clarkson University, and I've had my license since 2003. I haven't been physically here, but I've been in front of your boards here in Milburn virtually during COVID.
Your qualifications are accepted, please proceed.
Thank you.
Kathy can provide an overview. We certainly want to talk about why we need to reconstruct the wall to the driveway and talk a little bit about the neighborhood. And we're going to pass around an exhibit we're going to call A1.
Sure.
Just describe what's on this for us, please.
Sure, the exhibit that was just handed out has 4 pictures of the existing conditions of 53 Sagamore. They were taken by the homeowner on various dates. January 13th of this year is the upper right without the snow, and the other 3 were taken January 23rd by Ms. Hugh Quober. Basically, the intent of this is I'll start at the top left. You can see the existing house in between the 2 neighboring houses. So it is out of scale a little bit. The other houses have been already expanded. The top right is the existing driveway and wall configuration. What's not super apparent on that photo is the wall on the left is not perpendicular to the garage door. It actually leans in because it's in disrepair, but it's angled angled in towards the driveway. So as you come up to the top of the driveway, your car isn't perpendicular to your garage door. So as part of this, we're asking for the variance to keep that wall height at 6 feet and relocate it and realign it on the left side. So that'll enable them to utilize the garage a bit better. The bottom left is a picture of the neighboring glass structure that you heard reference to before. It's a pretty prominent feature on the neighboring house. So by going and keeping it on the bottom right, you can see the angle that the architect was talking about. If we go out to the back, we'd be blocking the side of their glass structure. This also shows the flat area behind the property. So as you've heard, the property is steep sloped. I have the existing conditions on the cover sheet. These are dated 11/15/23, the same as what was in your application package. We're lot 3, block 101. We took the average setback to determine the established in the neighborhood, 500 each side. So you've heard those numbers already. And you can see on the back of the property now, there's a series of walls and tiers and stairs. And as I turn to page 2, it'll make a bit more sense. We go from an elevation of 170 at the rear, which is adjacent to the county park, down to 100 at Sagamore. So the property is approximately 265 feet deep on average with a 70-foot slope differential. So
Kathy, it's possible that the board has some familiarity with the slopes on Sagamore.
yeah. So again, you heard, we didn't want to dig into the back. As you heard, there's no,
Kathy, where's the glass house in relation to what you're showing here on your site plan?
that's the extension off onto the right side. So there's, I guess they have a hallway connecting, and then this square back here is the glass structure.
Kathy, can you talk about the setbacks? I mentioned that in my opening comments.
Sure.
It's 22 required. The other side has how much on their side?
So to the property, house to house, or structure to property line to lot 2, they're approximately 32 feet from the property line. And we're at a existing and proposed 11.43. So it's under, it's a pre-existing condition. The lot is actually under on lot width, required is 100 feet. And we're at existing 85.02. So it is a narrower lot than what would be allowed under the ordinance.
But we get the 22 and 22 in total, you get just about the same 44 as contemplated. It's just more on the neighbor's property.
That's correct. We'd have the same light, space, and air in between the two properties. So that was a pre-existing condition on the right side. I know the board member had asked, why don't we set in the side? We're starting at 11.43. So to get the second floor to 22, we're going to lose a substantial amount of that second floor with the addition. So
Kathy, from an engineering standpoint, at least any detriments that you see?
I don't see any detriments. And again, the neighbor has already expanded their house, so we'll maintain that space in between.
Will that banister remain? Or I guess I call it a banister, but the fence-like structure that goes up the driveway on the left side of the driveway, is that gonna remain? Because I don't see it in the photos, but in the renderings.
It's intended to remain. That could be a question for the homeowners. We went around with a lot of different driveway configurations to widen it to 2 feet, 2 cars wide. Looking at all the different ordinances in Millburn for impervious coverage in the front yard, disturbances of slopes, the usability of their driveway. We did have a number of concepts. And then we scaled it down. And this is the best improvement for what they have now without going crazy. And again, we had worked with the homeowners back and forth to come up with this configuration. So it widens it a little bit up at the top. The wall needs to be rebuilt. Anyways, it's in poor condition. And then we'll construct new steps up to the new entrance of the house. The overall steep slope disturbance is 450 square feet, so no variance is required for that. And as you've heard, the other, we have some pre-existing variances. The lot width, the front yard setback does comply today, but it's measured to the overhang, 2 feet into the overhang per the code. So we're requesting 56.7 when 58.5 is required. The minimum side yard setback is the same number that exists today. It's 1 story on both sides. So we had the 11.43 non-compliant on the right, and the left side at 18.2 for 1 story is compliant. So now the one side, the portion that sticks out on the left is going to remain at 1 story and comply. And then the right side is being expanded within that 11.43 feet.
In terms of A1, I'm looking at the top right-hand photo, Kat. Is that vegetation that separates the home from the home to the right? Is that on your property or on the neighbor's property?
We didn't have them surveyed, so I'd imagine they're just over the property line.
Are they living? It looks like it.
They're green in the picture.
Right.
They look like in the bottom
What about
left, you can
behind?
see a little,
Yeah, what about behind? Toward the rear there,
for the upper right corner.
yes.
It was taken in January, so I wouldn't know the conditions. There was no leaves when it was taken. So by going up on the house, we actually don't have any land disturbance around the perimeter. They will have construction vehicles obviously up and down, which was also another consideration. To get machinery back there, if the house were to be expanded back, would be heavy equipment for the slope disturbance and walls. And this will hopefully enable them to build up more easily than back. There's one other pre-existing nonconformance that we were taught that hasn't been mentioned is the driveway setback. 5 feet is required. At the front right corner, we're 6 feet off that property corner. That's the existing driveway, and we're not proposing any improvements to it. The building coverage is going up by 45 square feet only, and that's the front area. And then the lot coverage is going up by only 118 square feet. That's the minimal widening up by the driveway by swinging that existing wall back. I think that's everything on our plans. Just for the board's clarification, the wall on the right, that's not going to be changed. That ranges from 4 feet up to a maximum of 5, and that will remain.
Thank you. Any questions from the board regarding this testimony?
Just for clarification, so just this wall that's on the left as we're looking at the house is the one that's
Correct.
and the one on the right is in good shape?
Correct.
It's a formidable wall, I saw it today.
Yeah.
But that one is in good enough shape to stay. Okay.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the audience regarding this testimony? Risha, that's it?
Thank you.
Sure. Then I'll open up to any comments from the audience regarding this application. I see none, so I will close the public portion. Board members, what are your thoughts?
Although, I think it's a modest ask, I think it's reasonable, so I'd be in favor of this application.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot here that while it's 1,000 square feet over the R4 requirement, it is narrow, and that's clearly what I would consider C1 regarding this property hardship. So I think what the ask here is minimal. I think the aesthetic of the final product is going to look very nice, and I would vote in favor of this application. Any other thoughts? We can have a motion in this case.
Make a motion to approve the application.
A second?
Second.
Joseph Hopefield,
Yes.
Chandra Rosani,
Yes.
Virginia Truitt,
Yes.
Priscilla Sirois. Yes. Jessica Black.
Yes.
Craig Koshaw.
Yes, good luck with the project.
Thank you for your time.
I'll let the record show that Amy Lawrence arrived at 7:30.
Thank you. Just let the record show that you.
I just announced it. I think
I heard that. I got it.
Eric got it.
He's here twice now.
Next up, we have calendar 395923. 50 Elmwood. Hey, folks, if you could take it outside, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you. Who'll be speaking this evening, everyone? That's story all.
Everybody raise your right hand, please. Do you swear from testimony about to be given tonight proceeding to be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Your name to the record, please, spelling your name.
T-E-J-A, and my last name is S-U-K-T-H-A-N-K-A-R.
I'm Pranav Suthankar, first name P as in pen, R-A-N-A-V, S, and last name is Suthankar, S-U-K-T-H-A-N-K-A-R.
Timothy, K-L-E-S-S-E. You probably know my name by now, I think at this point.
So who'll be speaking first?
You guys.
Go ahead.
My name is Pranav and she's my wife Teja. We have been in Short Hills for since 2016, and we've been in this area for all that while. We have a home on 50 Elmwood Place for which we're going to discuss what we are requesting out of the committee. But like, we love this area. Our daughter went to Glenwood. She's been studying there. Now she's in high school. We have all but good things to say about where we live today. And as we've decided that we'll be here for a very, very long time, just because we love this place. We are very lucky to get a house in the Glenwood area itself, and we have been very happy ever since. My parents are growing old. My wife's mom, she's also growing old, and they come and visit us many times. In fact, her mom will be living with us coming May. And although the house, it's pretty good. It would be better if we have some more space for our parents as well. Additionally, we are very lucky that we both, wife can work from home. So a little bit of additional space will go a long way to be a little bit comfortable. The technicalities we will talk about, and if you want.
I think covered everything.
Thank you. What do you think?
I'm gonna put you guys down over there. Okay.
Qualifications.
I'm a licensed architect in the state of New Jersey, and I've attended New Jersey Institute of Technology, and I've been licensed for 25 years. My license is in good standing, and I've been accepted by this board and numerous other boards in the area.
Thank you. Please continue.
The site, is 50 Elmwood. It's an R6. It has an undersized width of 50 feet, whereas 60 is required. It has an undersized lot area of 5,500, whereas 6,000 is required. The otherwise, the lot pretty much conforms. It's a Tudor revival that's in pretty good shape, but we're doing a little interior restoration inside of it. And the ask tonight is really on the left side to increase the size of these two bedrooms that are on the left. And they're really to make the bedrooms suitable for both of their parents is what we're really trying to do. The rear bedroom, the ask is to add 29 square feet, because the existing bedroom is 11 by 12, and the addition would make that bedroom 11 by 15. The front bedroom is now 9 by 7, and we'd like to make it 9 by 13. We can't pick up width because of the building I'll show to you. That's an addition of 54 square feet. And then we, as part of architecturally what I did to do this, we added another 25 square feet, which is a 5 foot by 5 foot closet in the front, so that I could make the front facade work. So those three areas are what add up to our total of 108 square feet of additional FAR, which this request is for tonight. We didn't add any building coverage. We haven't added any lot coverage. It's really just an FAR add. I'm going to go now to my BOA sheets. The addition on my BOA 1 sheet on the right side is our proposed. The addition is really on this right side, and there's 29 square feet in the rear of the building, and there's 79 square feet in the front, which is a combination of that 54 square feet and the 25 square feet. And otherwise, there's no work except for interior restoration of the inside of the building. The building's been a little chopped up over the years.
But if I come to my BOA 2 sheet, which is the second floor, right, we come up the existing stair. I have added FAR because I have a big sort of foyer up here, which I really wouldn't need if I could do a new house in this case. You know, I could control my FAR a little better, but I'm in a position here where I have a lot of FAR sort of wasted. I have a very small primary bathroom and then one other hall bath. Both of them are existing, both of them are remaining, nothing's being done. The work is really in our bedroom 3 area where we're adding on in this rear corner, the rear left corner of the building to pick up that 25 square or 29 square feet. And then in the front, we're adding to pick up the 54 square feet. And to the right of that is this 25 square foot closet that we added. So what I did was brought the new wall out to equal the wall below. That's how I picked up that additional area. You know, there's side yard setback issues here because the existing side yard setback is at 7 feet. In the rear, it's actually at 6.91, and we are actually extending that. So that's one of our side yard setback. This impacts side yard setback above 18 feet and also impacts side combined because the lot is really undersized in width. If I come, the way we pulled this off, I just went to my BOA 3 sheet, is, you know, the Tudors have I think it's safe to say that the Tudors really have a 60-degree pitched roof. That's the way it goes. You know, the Capes have a 45-degree pitched roof, right? This is really a Tudor. So we took that 60-degree pitch roof and we just recreated it above. But I added that wall space right there. That's what I did. The little area that's sort of dotted in where we put the new stucco. Then we turned our gable out on the front so that we could create a terminus to the building and actually remove this area that's dotted on the upper left-hand corner. So in a sense, we actually we decreased visually our side yard setback by removing that corner of the roof. The only thing that the elevation does, remember, is it makes the roof look like it's standing up, but this roof is laid back on a 60-degree angle. But that's how we created the room. This gable in the center is existing and remains. This gable over on the right side where the fireplace is existing to remain. The height of the ridge is actually the same as the ridge is now. We haven't done anything to the building. All we did was try to pick up this small amount of area. We have an existing garage in this house, an attached garage. It's 189 square feet. You know, if I could delete that, that's actually, in this case, 3.4% FAR. That's a huge amount of FAR for a small lot, but, you know, the garages are included in FAR. So if I come up on my side yard setback, you can see the existing coming up on the right side at 8, and then when it hits the 18-foot, it kicks out so that we end up at a 12-foot setback at 32. The difference between the 32 maximum building height and the ridge is about 5.5 feet. Right? That's kind of a huge deal here, because when I look at the streetscape, everything is at about 25, 26, 27 feet tall in the street. And we've been able to maintain that and kind of just add a little bit of FAR in the area where we needed it. I think it's kind of safe to say, I think that a 9x7 bedroom is sort of too small, even to put your mother-in-law in, I think, kind of, a little bit. But, you know, I think it makes sense that we could kind of expand these rooms as long as we can do it intelligently, is all I'm saying. And that's all we did to gain this extra space. And it allows us to keep the character of the Tudor in place, keep the roof pitches of the Tudor in place, keep the streetscape looking the way it is. If I look right now, I guess I'd call this
This
my,
is something we have one.
like my exhibit, I'll call it A1. And it really contains first the front elevation of the building with a little streetscape on it, and then below it is actually, I ran a streetscape down. And I kept my distance from the buildings consistent so you could sort of see how our building fits. Our building is in the upper picture, the one in the middle, and in the lower picture, the second in from the right. And you can see that the building to the left of where we're talking about adding relieves itself from our setback because of the primary element, which is white in this case, and then the dormer that was somehow added at some other point in time. Beyond this, it's hard to see, but the building gets very close to the property line. There's an addition on the back of this Tudor Revival on the left, but it's way off of the picture plane of our building. It's actually beyond our building. And you can, I'm going to flip back to my BOA 1 sheet. You can actually see that on the existing survey where they show the adjacent dwelling. It's only about 3 feet off the property line, but it's actually behind my building, and we haven't gone back at all towards that area. This building doesn't really read that way, though. It reads as if it's about 8 feet off the property line, and the second floor reads to be 10 feet off the property line. Because they are up at that front, at the picture plane of the front facade of the building. And I can pass this around if anybody wants to see it closer.
Maybe see closer.
Right, but I think our buildings in scale, you know, this is that strange thing where we could add, I don't know, 500 square feet of FAR of added area to the third floor and create a much taller building. But we've really allowed our building to stay in scale and did it with really a relatively small increase in FAR. Okay. The side yard setback is existing on the left side at 6.9. The ask, I'm going now to attachment E. The ask is to continue that setback, right? It's really a non-conforming condition, and we really don't have any work in that area. It's really, you know, we haven't touched the footprint of the building. And then we have the additional setback above 18 feet. We're allowed to be at 9.46, and we are, I don't know if we're actually at 6.9, but we're relatively close to it. But we actually improved that, but we just let it continue to go at the 6.9 dimension. It's really falling. I don't want to mark this, but it's at the tangent point of the vertical to where it goes on display. That is actually that. It's really a continuation of existing. We've actually really improved it because we've removed all that gable end that was there. The side combined is, again, an existing non-conforming condition with no change. And the FAR is really an increase of this 108 square feet, right? But the FAR request is for 318 square feet because it's already over by 225 square feet.
Was it previous additions that did that? Or was this-
I don't know. I would think maybe this rear area of this house would have been a porch probably when this house was built. You know, they were all porches. And I don't know if we have a building over it or not. No, we're actually a roof over it. It's never been added to. So I think this FAR is the original FAR, I would say. Yeah. Just because I find it a little hard to believe that the initial porch would have been that big. The normal porches were about 8 feet or so. This looks more like 12. So it almost looks to me like somebody added 4 feet onto the porch and enclosed the porch at some point in time. But generally speaking, this is the existing FAR from how this house was built. And so what this addition on the left side does for us, allows us to increase the size of those 2 bedrooms on the left. Remember, the one is going from 9x7 to 9x13. The other is going from 11x12 to 11x15. And it also lets me clean up that left side of the house architecturally. And I think the gable at the end actually gives me a better termination for the building itself. And the decrease of that gable the gable that's the perpendicular gable is actually an improvement on the side yard setback related to the neighbor. I think the addition itself is an improvement on the neighborhood. The house itself, the renovation work we're undertaking is actually an improvement. It lets us update the house, lets me add egress windows, help with the fire life safety issues of this house. Also just clean up the facade and sort of update the neighborhood. So I think all in all, this is a reasonable case. Any questions?
Any questions for Mr. Plessy?
What is the existing FAR? I'm looking at, it's a lot of numbers.
The existing FAR is 39.9%.
39.9, that's what it says.
The allowable is 36,
And you're requesting 41.8.
41.8. We're increasing, it's an increase of, I think it's 1.8%.
Thank you.
Yeah, 300.
Yeah, 1.9%, I guess.
Thank you.
Any questions? Any questions from the audience regarding this application? Any comments from the audience regarding this application? That closes the public portion of this hearing. Board members, your thoughts?
Just remind the board that this is a FAR variance and it requires 5 affirmative votes for it.
We'll be bringing it down to 2 votes, one for the FAR and the balance. Don't all speak at once.
All right, I'll jump in. I think it's actually pretty modest, what you're looking to do. I can see the issues as far as the floor area ratios, But the fact that you have an undersized by width lot and also a gross area, aren't you? 5,500 square feet.
Yes,
versus
we're
6,000
500 square feet under.
One of the nice things that you pointed out, Tim, that I saw as well, is when you brought the perpendicular gable back in. That does take that potential massing, if you will, on the left-hand side, and reduces that. So that's makes it more palatable.
Yeah, I would agree. I think my biggest issue was really with the floor area ratio, but the fact that you are undersized does present a hardship. So I think I could probably live with it.
So from the math point of view, if you were a proper 6,000 square feet, you'd be about 160 square feet over, which is not by any means outrageous in the R6 zone, but being 5,500 square feet obviously exacerbates that problem. I think the lot can take the massing the way you've done it. I don't think the massing's out of control where you're just maxing it all out. Even though it is a significant deviation, the way it's being presented, I think it's in a way that's not going to be detrimental to the neighborhood or certainly the master plan in this case. So I would be in favor of it.
I echo all the comments that my colleagues have made, and I think it looks like a modest ask, and I would be supportive of the application.
Do I have a motion on the D variance?
Make a motion to approve the variance.
A second?
I can second.
Joseph Caulfield,
Yes.
Sean Georgiani,
Yes.
we haven't heard this before, right? This is Amy Lawrence? Yeah. Regina Truitt?
Yes.
Priscilla Surratt?
Yes.
Jessica Black?
Yes.
Craig Whitman?
Yes. Next up, we have the side yard setback, the additional side yard setback, along with the combined side yard setback that go along with this. Any thoughts on that? Or just sort of part of the package?
Pretty much the same.
Yeah, I agree with everything everyone said. As I drove by today, it's a challenging project, the restrictions of the width there, so I think we've done a nice job considering that.
Then do I have a motion on the remaining variances?
Sure. I'll move approval.
Thank you. And a second?
I can second.
Joseph Caulfield?
Yes.
Chandra Harjani?
Yes.
Amy Lawrence? Yes. Regina Truitt?
Yes.
Priscilla Surratt?
Yes.
Jessica Black?
Yes.
Craig Whitman?
Yes. Good luck with the project.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Next up, we have calendar 392523, 11 Mount Arad Road. Applicant is Lucky Express USA LLC. Good evening, Mr. Sursoy.
Good evening, my recollection is just, I'm sorry,
Excuse me.
before we start. So, I believe that this application was originally presented on October 16th. Does that sound
Yes.
right?
Well, I don't know about presented, it was,
There's no test.
there was no testimony.
When
Light testimony.
we had.
Some questions about the garage.
Right, but the
Garage.
two started, according to my notes, in October, and then it was carried to December 4th, and then further carried to, right,
Correct.
to this date? I'm just asking in terms of eligibility to make sure that we have the right number of board members and such.
Regina Joseph, Jessica Craig. Amy was not here on October 16th. Chandra, Regina, Joseph, Jessica, and Craig were here. Priscilla was, I'm not even sure you were on the, you weren't even on the board yet. I'm not sure now.
When was it? October 16th?
Last year,
Yeah, I was out of the country.
yeah.
So that makes it interesting. Obviously with the G variance, you clean sweep. If Amy's not eligible.
Correct. The only discussion about the garage was the size, and the size has changed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just telling you that there was testimony that was presented. I guess what you could do is you could basically say that you're starting over with the case from minute one, and then.
It is a start over. It is a start over.
Yeah, I would
Okay.
tend to agree with that. You're not reading. As far as I'm concerned, yes, testimony was
All
presented.
all of the variances have been diminished. Each one has been diminished, so it's really different.
Just so the applicant knows and the board knows that if we're gonna proceed that way, then there's no reliance on any prior testimony that was presented on October 16th. Is that acceptable?
That's acceptable.
Okay, so you'll make Priscilla now eligible,
Yes,
okay, and Amy eligible. Okay,
yes,
as long as you're comfortable with that, and just,
yes.
we're on the same page.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Anthony Cercillo. I'm with the law offices of Levitt & Cercillo in Millburn on behalf of Lucky Express USA LLC. The subject property is located at 11 Mount Ararat Road in Short Hills, and it's in the R6 zoning district. Our clients intend to renovate the property for their family, which consists of themselves, husband and wife, their children, and their parents. The property is unique, in my opinion, in that it abuts two commercial properties on Morris Turnpike. The property abuts its side yard lot line with Lot 17, which fronts on 752 Morris Turnpike. And the property abuts its rear lot line with Lot 20, which fronts on 720 Morris Turnpike. You can see that based on the tax map page that's within the application. We come here seeking variance relief. We have a floor area ratio D variance and 4 C variances as noted in the zoning officer's denial letter. However, the plans were revised to diminish the deviation of each requested variance. The application was amended with an updated attachment E, which is the summary of the requested variances.
So that's dated January 5th, 2020.
Correct. Our proofs of service and publication were submitted in September of 2023. I have 2 professional witnesses. Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would like to call my first witness.
Feel free.
Mr. Po Wu.
Great. Raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm testimony about to give in tonight's proceedings to be truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Just state your name and
Name is Paul Wu, P-O-W-U.
thank you.
Mr. Po,
Yes,
can you
yeah.
tell the board your academic and professional qualifications in the field of architecture?
Yes, so I got a master's degree in Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute back in 2004, and I've been practicing and got my license in 2010. And my license is in good standing. And I'll be presenting for the board in number of board before this board.
Mr. Chairman,
Qualifications are accepted.
thank you. Please start with your proposed site plan.
Yeah, sure. So I prepare a color site plan for better vision for the board. It's right here, that'll be new exhibit.
That has not been presented to the board. It's
Yeah.
label it as
It's not.
A1.
So on this color site plan, the yellow area is what we're proposing for the building coverage. So let's start from the front to back. From we are adding the a cover portico area. The reason of this portico area is important, and our planner gonna explain that later why this portico area is important for the whole development of the building. On the rear, we are adding 460 square feet at the rear. There's a building coverage, and we are adding the garage. The garage inside dimension is 20 feet by 10 feet. 10 feet wide by 20 feet deep. So it will accommodate a normal household, like most of the household car will fit in there. And also another reason for the garage is because the current garage is under here. And as you can see, there's a driveway coming down here. It's really not practical to have a garage located at the back. That's why we decided to put a garage at the a detached garage, so it's easy for the car to access from the street to the house.
Can I just interrupt you for a second?
Yeah, sure.
Because I think you said, according to this plan, it says, and I'm looking at your A2 of your plan.
Yeah.
It says the garage is 10 by 15. Is that accurate?
No, that's the old,
That's the old.
that's the old plan. The new plan is 10 by 20 inside.
Okay. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, sure.
Go on.
And the green area is quite a crane. That used to be a paver and crane to the long area. So that's a plus. And then and here I show the elevation of the garage from. Also, I want to emphasize the front yard setback is almost to the middle of the house. It's like right here, right about here. And as for the material of the garage, it's like fiberglass door, vinyl siding, and asphalt shingles. So nothing crazy. I also prepare this plan. This plans what is submitted for the board, and also prepare. This plan is what is submitted for the board. I prepare additional 3 plans gonna present tonight. Basically, I just want to compare existing floor plan and the proposed floor plan for you to better understanding the reason of this expansion. So I prepare another 3 additional sheets for tonight.
These are in the packet, correct? Or-
No, it's not. It's
These
just,
are new, okay.
it's all new. I just put.
So, I'm sorry, so I'm looking at your revision dated January 2nd, 2024.
Yeah.
Which contains 4 sheets,
Yes.
right? What is this now, sheet 5 through what?
Sheet 5, that's additional sheet just showing the existing floor plan compared to what we proposed.
Okay, so why don't we mark as sheet 5, we'll mark it as A2.
And sheet 6 will be A3.
Yep. That's why we're marking.
Well, another will be A5 or A4.
So A2 is gonna be new sheet 5, A3 is new sheet 6.
Yeah.
And then A4 is gonna be new sheet 7.
Yes.
So why don't you explain to the board for each new sheet, A2 through A4, what they represent?
Yeah, A2 is showing the existing basement plan with the proposed basement plan. And A3 is existing first floor plan with the proposed first floor plan. And A4 is existing second floor plan and proposed second floor plan.
How deep is this house now? Existing? Because I can't find that measurement.
Inside to inside, probably like 27 feet.
Depth, you're talking about,
Yeah,
not width.
depth.
And
The
then
width,
you're going to what?
another 20 feet and half, 20 and a half feet out.
Another 20 feet out?
Yeah.
So you're 47 feet
47 feet depth.
depth? Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What about
Okay.
what's proposed now? Show us what's proposed.
Yeah, sure. So this plan shows the existing basement against the proposed basement plan. On the right-hand side is a basement plan, like I said before. There's a garage at the back. No, at the right-hand side, but entry is at the back. So it's almost impossible to use this garage just in and out of daily use. And we have a narrow driveway down here, if you remember the site plan. And the basement is moving the garage toward the rear yard, 3 feet from the side, 3 feet from the rear, and access from the street, like one straight shot driveway coming from the street in and out. And this area is 460 square feet, what proposed at the back. And we are turning the existing garage into the bedroom suite. That bedroom gonna be for the parents, so they don't need to go up and down the staircase and just stay over there. And the other area is entertainment area. There's a prayer room. What I call it bar is just there's a way bar area, but basically it's just another prayer room. And this area, the stairwell, and and the a mechanical space right here.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
What are the dimensions of the shaded area that you have at the back of this basement?
Yeah, it's around 20 feet 6 deep and around 22 feet wide, outside to outside. So come out 460 square feet. Okay, move on to A3. A3 shows the existing first floor against the proposed first floor. Again, the shady area is what we propose for additional area. And the first floor, the existing first floor has 1 bedrooms and also the kitchen, dining room, and the living room and small sunroom of the kitchen. So what we propose on the first floor is we pretty much the same configuration and also the same size, also similar size. Kitchen stay at the same size or similar, and we turn the dining room into a study area, and living room stay at the same size. What we are adding is a bigger dining room for the family gathering, and also we create a family room at the back. For the very first hearing, our proposed area is to here, and we reduce to another 5 feet. So we reduce the area by almost like 110 square feet reduced. Move on to the second floor. Again, as is in second floor, let's propose second floor. There's a 2-bedroom on the second floor with 1 shared bath. And we proposed 4-bedroom second floor, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3, and 3 bedroom. 1 is a master, the other is one is a shared bed, the other is another suite over here. And we also put a laundry room on the second floor. Let me see. Again, so original is a 3-bedroom house. We are proposing a 5-bedroom house. Going to the elevations. So this is the elevation we are proposing. You can see the reason for that front cover porch area is give a sense of scale of the building, also give some character to the building, also make the building don't look too tall. That's why this front porch area is important for the overall for the design. And so for the design of the building, I try to bring the modern touch into the contemporary, into the traditional form of the house. So I introduced the very shallow roof line, large windows, asymmetry from door and skylight configurations, and try to bring the modern material into the building. And also that's the left-hand side of the building, and that's the rear of the building, and that's another side of the building. Please be noted, the driveway, and show you the driveway come down from here on street level all the way down to the courtyard area, and that's where we propose garage is. I think that's all.
Mr.
That's all
Wu,
yes.
are all of the proposed improvements going to be new materials?
Yes, it's gonna be new paint. Yes,
It's a total renovation of the house?
yes. Yes, new roofing, new siding, new windows, new window trim, new trims. Everything gonna be new. Yeah.
Any questions from the board?
So it looks like to me when it's finished, it's gonna be a 5-bedroom, 5-bathroom house.
Yes.
And what is it currently?
Currently 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, looking at this thing, I can't help but notice its lack of, shall we say, character or creativity in how you designed it. It looks like a box. Why didn't you apply a little more architectural style to this thing? I mean, from the front, from the sides, it just looks like a cruise ship.
I guess just the nature of the floor plan we have come up with. We try to keep the width of the existing building, just adding to the back. So adding a depth to the building instead of making wider. And also the if you think about it, if I apply to different material to the building, it's gonna look different. Instead of understand your point is pouring vinyl sidings, exposed shingles, and all that, but also need to consider budget reason. But if
How many
I
other
go
houses on the
overboard,
street are 47 feet deep?
I don't know answer for that. I didn't study. I didn't know. I have no answer for that.
Any other questions from the board?
Just the front yard setback, are any of the other houses in the neighborhood this close, just as you proposed, to the street? 20, looks like it's gonna be double what it is now.
You mean like
Closest
existing?
to the street, the front yard setback, see variance that you're asking for,
Mhm.
or any of the other houses that close to the street, or if you're, if it says.
I don't know. I don't know what's the neighborhood situated.
Okay, if you don't know, it's okay.
I
Thank you.
I don't know. Yeah.
If there's no other questions from the board, any questions from the audience for this applicant? Please come forward.
I have a question.
Sure, please come forward, give the state your name and address.
I'm Andrew Pearl, and
Spell your last name.
Pearl, and 10 Mount Ararat Road, so I'm directly across the street. Okay, there's fairly significant flooding when it rains because we've got a very long steep driveway and there's very little drainage. So I don't know if that's, part of, the scope of this hearing, but that would certainly be.
What's your question for the architect?
My question is there anything in plans to remediate the regular flooding when it rains?
Is that something you're prepared to answer?
We're gonna have the site engineer working on this project, but apparently to address your concern, the electrician I show you the gray kind of stuff on here and going down in this area. I think that's the area we're gonna have kind of like a water area. So the water gonna flow into this area. And then we can do a drainage in this area to kind of mediate that concern. That's just a concept I'm preparing. But in terms of exactly,
You haven't taken a look at that though, from a design standpoint, correct?
no, I didn't. I just know you're gonna have some drainage in that area for sure.
Do you have any other testimony regarding that?
No.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
Yeah, I have another question. And as regard to the front of the house, are there any plans for changing the current landscaping? There's kind of an unusual level from the street, and then there's a 3 or 4 foot terrace, and then going toward the house. So it's kind of an unusual situation. So I was wondering if that's part of the plans as well.
You can direct it towards the architect if he's qualified to answer that.
Do you have any knowledge?
Yes, we want to, original plan is to keep that in place. So we are trying to do a minimum modification for the front. I think the area the gentleman is talking about is in this area right here, although it's not showing on the site plan, but this area right here. And he said there's some kind of retaining wall, I think like 2 feet high along the front and kind of drop in this area. Intentionally, we are not proposing any changes to the landscape or the front yard in the middle.
You're not proposing.
We're not proposing any changes.
Anything else, Mr. Pearl?
Yeah, just one last question. So there's a brick wall that runs along the length of the driveway toward the street, and it kind of curves right at the very end, and it's been cracked for many years. So it's just, there's like a big ugly piece of brick that's just sitting kind of dislodged in the road. I was wondering if there's a plan to remediate that recurring problem.
Do you know what he's referring to?
Yeah, it's I
Can you
think
refer to the plan
yeah,
to
it's
the board?
I think it's on the side over here, right?
It's right by the driveway. It's the driveway.
Oh, it's right here.
Yeah, right where it reaches the street, there's a curve to that wall, and a big chunk of the wall is broken and just kind of hanging there for.
Yeah, that's part of our property, so we need to mitigate that for sure.
There'll be time for comment too, once we're finished with the testimony, if you have any comments you'd like to make. Any other questions for this professional?
I don't think so.
Bro, what address do you live at?
10, I'm across the street.
I call Bridget Bogart.
A lot of stuff, sorry.
Do you swear from testimony about the given tonight's proceeding to be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Your name for the record, please.
Bridget Bogart, Bogart.
Bridget, can you tell the board your qualifications as a professional planner?
Sure. I have a bachelor's in environmental design and architecture from North Carolina State University. I have a master's in city and regional planning from the University of Pennsylvania. I've been a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey since 2001. I started my own firm in 2012. I've been before this board a number of times, but not within the last couple of years, probably since COVID.
Thanks, your qualifications are accepted, please proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So as part of my analysis of this project, I started from the very beginning, looked at the proposed architecture, the master plan for the township, the zoning ordinance. I reviewed the area, the neighborhood. I looked at the zoning map and the regulations and looked at the variants that were requested and are now requested. I advised the applicant and the client design team on the revisions that may be necessary to appease some of the comments that were made back in October when we first went before the board. First and foremost, what I want to note is that we have a fully conforming lot with regard to lot area, lot width, and lot depth. But what most important from a planning perspective is how this lot fits into the surrounding area, the zoning ordinance, and the surrounding development pattern and the street itself. I have an exhibit that has not been submitted or marked yet, if I may.
So we're up to A5.
You just pass it down. And just real quickly, while you're handing them out, just describe what we're looking at here.
Sure, it is twofold. On the top of the exhibit, there are a number of photographs of the site itself. And on the bottom of the exhibit is the surrounding development analysis, which all the way to the left includes the existing zoning map and then photographs of the site and the surrounding area. It was prepared on October 5th, and the photographs were taken by myself probably in mid-September.
So, does everyone have one? Okay. So starting on the photograph, all the way to the top row, all the way to the left, that is, when you're looking at the house, that's the left side yard, and that is going to remain intact with the proposal. Then moving to the next photograph, you'll see the driveway that's currently existing, and actually, as the neighbor had mentioned, you'll see exactly what he's talking about, but that brick portion of the wall coming off. And as you heard from our architect, we're willing to remediate and fix that situation. What I wanted to know from a planning perspective is you'll see that we have a driveway that is, I believe, over 100 feet long that can accommodate a number of vehicles. And I think this is important because we're looking for a FAR variance. And one of the important things we have to address is how the site accommodates the additional floor area for this proposal. And you'll see here that we can more than accommodate the cars that are associated with the proposed development. I'll get into that in my testimony. The next photograph, as you move to the right, is going down the driveway, and it looks at exactly where the proposed garage is. And you'll see the fence along the driveway. That is the fence that is a buffer between the commercial uses immediately adjacent to it and the buffer all the way to the rear, and the commercial uses to the rear of the property. The last photograph shows is basically you round that corner and you'll see the back portion of the property, and there's a number of items there that need to be stored. And so we feel that the provision of a garage really helps this property by providing an indoor storage facility and an indoor area to accommodate a vehicle. So these are all the existing conditions. On the bottom row, you'll see the zoning map, and I probably should have outlined the property itself, but you look all the way to the bottom, there's B2 district that runs along the commercial corridor, and then you'll see Ararat Road right in the middle of that zoning map in the Peach area, and the property is immediately adjacent and surrounded on two sides by the B2 zone. And you can see that in the photographs as we move forward all the way.
So, Bridget,
I'm sorry.
before you go on with the photographs,
Mhm.
looking at the zoning map on the bottom left of A5.
Yes.
So it's not marked, but what's in peach is the R6 zone, is that accurate?
That's correct. I cut it off. I apologize.
Yeah, no worries. So if the peach is R6,
Mhm.
so the subject property is, I mean, I see Mount Ararat Road.
Mhm.
Where, can you just describe for the board where precisely the property is located?
Like I said, I should have marked it. I apologize. As you're headed up Ararat Road, it is to the right, and it's the first property as you head up there in the R6 zone. And it's the first property that is surrounded by both commercial parking lots. So as you head up the road, let's see, if you look in.
So two sides, is it true that two sides of the lot are bordered by the B2 zone?
Correct. And parking lots and dumpsters and the rear end of retail commercial uses. So if you look, you can probably see a little bit better to the photograph to the right. This is headed back down, looking towards the B2 district. You'll see the Wendy's building and an office building. And this is headed back down to the highway. And I took this photograph basically in the driveway of the subject property. So immediately adjacent to the commercial uses. And right under that, you'll see this is the driveway, that broken wall that the neighbor has spoken about. And you can see the commercial properties behind and the dumpsters. And it's also illustrated in the adjacent photograph to the right of that. There are a couple trees, but when I was there 3 times, and all 3 times there were garbage trucks taking out the dumpsters, and there's a lack of a buffer there. And our property really acts as the buffer between the commercial area and Ararat Road and the residential area. There's also a lack of parking on Ararat Road because it's smaller in nature. And as you can see in the photograph all the way to the bottom, people park on the yards, and there's really no there's really no way to park on the street itself. So the benefit to our site is that we have that elongated driveway to accommodate all on-site parking. As you go along, I know there were a couple questions about the sizes of the homes and the depth of the homes on that street. I'm going to get my directions wrong and I apologize. I believe that's the west side, across the street from our subject site. There are a number of larger homes that have the depth equal to or more than that than we are proposing. And you can see that in the photographs. One immediately adjacent, the yellow house across the street. These are 2 homes across the street. All the way to the bottom right of the exhibit, there are smaller homes on our side of the street. But as you can see from the photographs of the surrounding area, this street itself is it is characteristic of larger homes and very similar to what we are proposing. So I think what's important to know from a planning perspective is not only that our site can accommodate the parking on site to address our proposal, but also that it is in keeping with the design of the residential street itself, and that we are surrounded on 2 sides by commercial properties. And what we're looking to do here is not, one, clean up the property itself, provide for indoor storage for all the issues that are outside the property currently, and also improve the buffer in that back area. As you heard from our architect, and you can see from our photographs, so it's basically on the top, the 3rd photograph in the middle, we're looking to remove a lot of that asphalt and replace it with green area and improve the landscape in that back area.
Real quick, you keep referring to this, store the stuff in the garage. There's an existing garage on site, correct?
Correct.
So why is the stuff in it?
It's full and it needs to be cleaned out. And what the architect had indicated is what we're looking to do is move that garage out, create a more modern floor plan for the house itself, and create a nice modern garage, 10 by 20, to accommodate the vehicle and the storage.
Okay, because the current garage is bigger than the one you're proposing.
Correct. But it's full. And what?
Well, I mean, I'm not really sure what that pertains to, that it's full. I don't even, so how's that pertain to this hearing? That it's unkept, is what you're saying? I mean, I don't.
The property is, I mean, from my perspective, it is unkept right now.
Okay, so I guess going by this, what makes us think that it's not just gonna fill up the other one and we're looking at the same thing? It's the same owners.
Correct. The hope, from my understanding from my client, is that they're looking to accommodate their family in a modern situation, to accommodate their parents, create a brand new home, and basically modernize the house and clean it up and get rid of all this. And obviously, it's a maintenance issue, and
I'm just not really sure, okay. I'm not really sure what changes, other than the fact that you build something new and all of a sudden you become neat.
I would assume so.
I mean, I'll go with what you're saying, it just doesn't.
If I'm spending my
Can't
money.
square that, but.
I understand what you're saying, but if I'm spending my money on a brand new home, I would want to make sure it's neat and
Right.
kept.
I'm not sure a door in the backyard is how you would live normally, but continue, please.
Just a question here.
Sure.
The sheet that you circulated, the bottommost, the 2 on the right, you said those are pictures of homes across?
Across the street, yes.
And would you know by chance, I mean, what is the depth? Is that 47 feet or close, or is that more? Do you know?
I did not do those dimensions, but they look like they're, from what I can see from the aerial, they look almost twice as large as what currently exists on our property.
And that picture is essentially from the subject property's side?
It is on the same side of the street, but a little bit further down, yes.
So the bottom right picture, the brick house, the yellow house, and the white house, those are the 3 houses to the left of the subject property?
Correct.
Okay, and where is the subject house front setback in relation to these? Is it?
It's very similar. There's one house on that side of the property that has a portico that's similar to what we are proposing.
Since you took obviously significant number of pictures here of this neighborhood, tell me which house would be 47 feet deep?
Like I said, I did not do dimensional analysis, but on the other side of the other side of the street, there are a number that are larger.
Got it.
If necessary, and the board wants that information, I'd be more than willing to provide that.
Just while we're on the photos,
Mhm.
on the right side, the middle row.
Okay.
Two photos from the right, are those across the street from our piece?
Yes.
And again, just under, the two under that are on our side?
The one under that, all the way to the right, is on the subject side.
Right.
The one next to it to the left is across the street. So across the street, there are larger homes. And most of the homes do not have the driveway length that we have to accommodate the additional parking. So as you heard,
Bridget, can I ask
I'm
a
sorry,
quick
go
question?
ahead.
So on A5, the photo that's on the top left-hand corner, it shows the left side of your house, and then it shows to the left another house with a chimney. You see that?
Yes.
It's a photo that was probably taken from your car, right?
Oh, yes, you can see my car.
You can see the car door, right?
Yes.
So is there another photograph that shows that house to the left?
Not in this exhibit, but I do have one. I believe it is, it's hard to, at the end of that dwelling is, if you look at this middle row, second one in from the right, you can see the end of that dwelling.
Where the white car is parked?
Yes, so to the right of the white car. I'm almost 100% positive.
That's confusing because.
It can't be, because I'm
Because it
looking
can't
at a
be, because that
window
house is too big.
in front of the
You're right, you're
chimney on
correct.
the left, and there's no window and no chimney on the.
You are correct. I apologize. When I was putting together this exhibit, it seemed so obvious to me that this property was in keeping with the streetscape and in keeping with the neighborhood, and because it was surrounded by commercial, I felt like this was an appropriate proposal. And maybe I should have done a little more for the presentation with regard to where the photographs were taken and to illustrate exactly what the commercial properties are surrounding. And as I mentioned to you, if the board needs to see that, I'm more than willing to provide that, because I think from a planning perspective, this application really makes sense for this site on this street.
Question about the front yard, again, sorry to keep hammering on this. What is the depth of this portico, the new portico on the first floor that is proposed? For
I
the
believe it's
area
just,
that we have those measurements.
5 feet, a little less than 5 feet.
5 feet deep?
Yeah, so it's currently our existing,
And how wide?
8 feet, 8 feet wide.
Okay, and that is, and then the existing front wall is going to remain the same?
Correct. The variance that we need is just for this little section here for the portico.
Is that the first floor?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Any further testimony?
I have lots of
Oh,
testimony.
good, I'm sorry, okay, go ahead.
I love to talk about planning. So we're looking to add the portico, the garage, and the additional family room to the back. What is important to note is that the architect really looked to the family and their needs as a family, a growing family, need to accommodate senior housing, their family. I'm working on a number of applications that are looking to we basically bring in-laws in, grandparents in, to accommodate elders that no longer can live by themselves but don't want to be in assisted living or 55 and older. And what I'm seeing from a planning perspective is that homes, extended families, homes are getting larger because of extended families, accommodating the mother-in-law suite, the father-in-law suite. And that's exactly what they're doing here, is opening up, creating a bigger dining room for the family, creating a bigger playroom, family area, just to accommodate the extended family for the elders. They're looking to provide for a special area in the basement for their bathroom. There's private living area, but also to have them in the house itself to provide for a consistent and consolidated family environment. The rooms are not excessively large. When I first looked at this, I said an FAR for what we're proposing seems very excessive. So when I first met with the architect and my client, I said, can you just lay out the furniture? And because I want to see from a planning perspective how these rooms lay out and why are they the size they are. And you can see from the furniture that's laid out, the family room really only accommodates a very small couch and 2 chairs. The dining room is a little bit larger, but it's going to accommodate the in-laws, the existing family. They have 3 children, the mother and father, and there's modernizing the kitchen itself. There is an existing bedroom in the front that's going to be removed to open up that area. You're going to have a living room in the front, and that's basically it. Playroom for the kids in the basement, and then adding a master bedroom in the front, in the back. So it's going to, the upper floor is going to be for the parents and their 3 children. So from that perspective, I think when you see the layout and can understand the family that's going to live there, I think it's an appropriate floor plan, appropriate floor area.
I'd like to understand one thing. So this photo, this is A5, right?
Yes.
So this photo here in the top right.
Mhm.
So this has a door opening out onto the driveway, right?
Yes.
And that's the same door that's in your proposed basement plan that is at the playroom?
That existing door is going to be removed.
So is this a door here in the playroom, or is this,
The playroom is going to be an addition.
there's a door?
This whole thing's an addition. The existing house, that door is probably here.
Okay, but there's a new door then?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's going to come out to the side. So that's going to be the area where we're removing some of the driveway to provide some additional green area.
Got it, but there's a door to this new playroom, right?
A door outside. So from the new playroom, the door is going to go out to the garage, or to the driveway, I'm sorry.
The driveway.
And then the rest of it's going to
Right, so
turn
like
into
the-
green space.
essentially the whole basement is like a separate apartment.
It's going to accommodate the in-law suite and then the playroom for the children.
Got it.
There's no
Yeah, it's
kitchen
gotta-
in the basement, is there?
Yeah, there's no kitchen, there's no, it's not a separate, like a 2-family. Okay, so as I mentioned, the rooms are not excessively large. Really, the architect's looking just to modernize the floor plan, accommodate an extended family, create a detached garage to accommodate a car. The driveway itself is 80 feet long to accommodate at least 4 cars, and we comply with RSIS standards. So for all those reasons, I think that we meet the standard for a D4 floor area variance, because what we have to prove is that the site accommodates the additional floor area. And from all those perspectives, I believe we do. We're creating additional greenery in the rear, we accommodate the parking, et cetera. We comply with building height, the side yards, the lot area, lot width, lot depth. So in this instance, really, this board's job is to look at the physical features of the site itself, where it's located, how it affects the surrounding area, how it affects the street, the configuration of the site, and the configuration of the proposal. Given the fact that the additions towards the rear, towards the B2 district, it really has no impact on the residential street itself. The portico is really the only thing that's going to be an addition that we need the variance for, And from my perspective, not only does it provide for shelter and cover where you're trying to bring in your groceries from a family perspective, but also architectural aesthetic features from the streetscape perspective, adding a public benefit. So with that regard, I believe that this site can accommodate this permitted use with regard to parking setbacks, removing of the pavement in the rear yard, and providing the additional green space in the rear. So for all those reasons, I think that the number of C variances that we need, actually, can I hand this out? I have another exhibit, if you don't mind. It's a zoning chart that was submitted.
So this is gonna be A6.
It's the zoning chart that was submitted with the architectural drawings. But when I saw the zoning chart that was submitted, and it's a township chart, as a planner who's been doing this for 20-something years, I was a little confused and taken back because there's so much information on it. So I simplified the chart. It's the exact chart that was submitted, but it just shows all the regulations that apply to this proposal, the R6 requirements, the existing conditions, and the proposed conditions. And in yellow, it identifies the variances that we are seeking. So starting from the top, as I mentioned, we comply with lot area, lot width, and lot depth. The first variance that we were required, that is required from a proposal, is the front yard setback. And as I mentioned, that is for the portico itself. We comply with the side yard requirements, the side yard setback for a building of 32 feet in height. We comply with a combined side yard requirement. We do not comply, the second C variance is for the rear yard unoccupied, and that is for the new garage. And as I mentioned to you, that yes, we're providing the new garage because we're taking the garage out of that existing area to accommodate the playroom and additional floor area in the basement, and providing a more modern garage in the rear. And that garage is going to basically act as a buffer to the B2 district and provide family for a more appropriate garage. As you heard from our architect, the existing garage is very hard to get into because it's tucked under the house. So that's why we need the second rear yard unoccupied variance. The last three variances, well, one is for the floor area ratio, which I discussed, and then the other two are for building and lot coverage. Building coverage, we are over by 380 square feet. Lot coverage, we're over by 272 square feet. From my perspective, from a planning perspective, I think these are de minimis variances based upon the site and lot layout. And as I mentioned, when I met with the architect and my client, I felt, let's explain and understand how this floor area, the floor design works. And I think that these rooms are not excessively large, and I think are appropriate to accommodate my client's proposal and accommodate the extended family, accommodate the senior living, and really create a very nice modern design for the proposal. So as you can see, while it's from a strictly zoning perspective, we do need a number of variances. I don't think that it's really excessive when you take into account the road itself, the design itself, the client, what is trying to be accomplished, and the surrounding development pattern. So, as I mentioned, in addition to the floor area variance, we need a number of C variances as outlined in that zoning schedule. They can be accommodated, I believe, under the C1 because we're really working on with a specific piece of property that lawfully exists, and we're working with a existing dwelling that lawfully exists, and we're just trying to accommodate modernization of that floor area and accommodate this family that owns this property. However, what I'd like to do is walk through the C2 criteria for you, where we have to talk about how we further the purposes of the municipal land use law, look at the local master plan, which I think is the most important, show that the benefits of granting the variances outweigh any detriments, and then at last address the negative criteria. So first and foremost, I want to go through the purposes of the municipal land use law that I think we further. And there are three of them, I believe. Purpose A, to encourage municipal action to guide appropriate use of all lands. that promote the general welfare, public and safety, and more welfare and morals of the general public. I believe this proposed development of this site for permitted use benefits the street itself because it's in keeping with the surrounding development pattern. I think you can see from the photographs that the scale of the proposal really is in keeping with the streetscape itself and the neighborhood as a whole. Purpose G, to provide sufficient space and appropriate locations for a variety of uses. And as I mentioned, this is a permitted use, so I think this is a appropriate location for this use and this house. I don't believe that it's appropriate for commercial, even though it butts and surrounded by commercial development, it acts as a buffer. So unfortunately, it's a detriment to my client's property, but the way that it's designed really acts as a buffer for the remainder of the neighborhood. And then purpose I, to promote desirable visual environment through creative development techniques. I think the architectural improvements are aesthetic improvement to the neighborhood, but also a functional improvement to the site. As you heard, we're moving the garage so that you could actually access the garage. And we're really creating and improving the floor plan, and the portico itself actually adds aesthetic improvements to the front of the property. So getting into the local master plan, which I think is very important. In 2018, the planning board recognized the single family character of all the districts R3 to R6, and really wants to preserve that character and wants to avoid development that is out of sync with that underlying zone and that neighborhood character. And I think it's important, again, to evaluate the character of what we're proposing to what exists on that street. And that's why I mentioned if the board really feels it's necessary to get the additional information on the size of the homes on that street, I'm more than willing to provide, because I feel, after being out there a number of times, that what we are proposing is in character with that street. The master plan 2018 talks about evaluating the existing land use regulations and the existing homes to determine whether they're compatible with each other. And I didn't see anything, and I might be missing, but I went through zoning ordinances and other master plan documents. I did not see anything where there was any evaluation completed or any rezoning or zoning amendments to accommodate that goal. So all that being said, the second portion of the positive criteria is that we have to prove that there's benefits to our application. I believe there's a number of benefits. One, as I mentioned, adding greenery, removing the driveway in the rear, improving the garage situation, providing the detached garage, providing the portico for architectural benefits and also the benefit to the resident. And I believe those outweigh any detriments associated with this application. I don't believe there's any detriments. It's improvement and redevelopment to the site that's currently in need of redevelopment. So for all those reasons, I could want to address the negative criteria. And that's two-pronged, as this board knows. One, we have to prove that there's no substantial detriment to the public good. And as I mentioned to you throughout my testimony, it fits into the neighborhood. The new dwelling would act as a buffer for the remaining street because it really backs up to the two commercial districts. And you can see it's one of 3 lots that do that on that side of the street. And there's sufficient space on the site to provide for parking on site. So we're not going to impact the street itself, which I think is a substantial benefit because when I was there, it was very difficult to park on that street. And as you can see in one of my photographs, a lot of people park on the grass itself or in their front yard. And we're not going to have that situation in our application. And the second portion of the second prong of the negative criteria is that we have to prove that there's no substantial impairment to the zone plan or zoning ordinance. And for all the reasons that I stated and the goal that I stated from 2018, I don't believe there's any substantial impairment to your zone plan. And one of the most important factors for this board to consider when looking at C variances is the surrounding neighborhood, including the size and configuration of lots in the area, dwellings in the area, and how the existing development impacts our property as well as the proposed development impacts the adjacent properties. So for all those reasons, I believe that this board has a right to grant the D4 variance as well as the 4C variances that we are requesting. Thank you.
Any questions regarding this testimony?
Oh, sure. Okay.
Go ahead.
So this retaining wall that I see in the upper right-hand corner, on that, I guess this is the house that we're discussing, correct?
Yes,
That is the retaining, will that remain?
I believe so, yes, right? Yes,
That's going to remain, and that's in good shape?
yes.
And do you need to do any, like, regrading of the backyard to accommodate the addition?
I believe so. We have not gotten to that point. I guess from my client's perspective, we were looking to get this approved and then move forward because obviously we have to accommodate any drainage considerations from your engineering department. But we do want to go through that exercise until,
And how far off the property line in the back will you be to the back of the property?
so the proposed garage is 3 feet off the property line, which complies.
Okay.
The proposed house is 25 feet, which also complies.
Just the drainage considerations because you were asking for FAR.
Understood. The, let me make sure, sir. Rear side, yeah, we complied. So the rear yard setback requirement you can see in my zoning chart is 20% of the lot depth, so it's 20 feet. And we comply with that. So we comply with the garage setback as well as the house setback. And what's important to note is this green area is the area of the driveway that we're removing. So we're actually creating more impervious coverage or area in the backyard where this is all asphalt at this point.
Okay, so less impervious.
Correct.
Right, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Two clarifying questions. I think you mentioned that it's 3 feet away from the back of the property line. I think on the right also it was 3 feet on the right
Yes.
side, and it's both compliant.
Yes.
And I think you answered my second question is on the lot coverage, 51.5% existing goes down to 49.5%
We're reducing it.
because of this green area.
Correct. Yes. We still need a variance, but we are reducing the existing lot coverage, which is a benefit to the application.
When you went through the criteria for, I guess, D, you mentioned parking, that we're creating a garage, it's gonna take cars off the street. Can you actually turn a car around in that driveway?
Yes.
It's about 22 feet deep on the turnaround part.
You're talking right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could turn it around there. Correct, yeah.
Carefully.
Maybe if you have your middle.
And no snowpack.
You don't want to escalate back there.
No. And how many people are gonna be living there?
It's my clients, so the parents, 3 kids, and their parents.
So how many?
7?
Seven.
So I know you mentioned turning around and getting out of the site. If you look at my photographs, most of those houses on that street have parking in their front yard and don't have a turnaround, and they have to back out. Probably 90% of those homes.
Yeah, the ones that you were talking about, are those garages in the front of the home or are they in the back like you're proposing?
Most
What
of,
you're saying, but
some of them don't have garages, I don't, but most of them are in the front of the home. I'm only suggesting it's not atypical of that neighborhood in that street.
Have you pulled the tax records for the street in terms of the housing, number of bedrooms in these homes?
Number of bedrooms, I don't believe are on the tax records.
They're on the
They are?
actual chart.
I could pull that.
No, that's right, if you didn't.
I did not do that.
Okay, not going further the question is.
I'll piggyback though. Along those lines, did you take a look at FAR calculations for other lots in the R6 zone that similarly abut properties in the B2 zone?
I did not look at that. It's from my perspective, every variance stands on its own. I probably, obviously I can do that. That's not a problem. As I said, as I mentioned, I think from a planning perspective, what we're proposing really is appropriate for this street, especially in this site. And if this board wants more information on with regard to the dwelling depth and the number of bedrooms and the FAR, I'm more than willing to provide that.
Yeah, I only raised that specific question because, one of your proofs was that it abuts, commercial zone. And that's why it's appropriate and you were referencing your photos as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
When I
If
look
we
at
did
the-
want, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
If we did want that information, are you prepared to hold up your application? I
That's
mean, I'll
not-
address it to you since you're the one that's open.
That's up to my client's attorney. I'm more than willing to do it, but that's obviously my client's.
I mean, normally we are presented that information.
Okay.
You know, for the entire neighborhood to see just what the neighborhood allows. You know, you're saying that based on your findings that this is an appropriate application, but we don't know that. Because we don't know what
You want the data. I understand.
I'll let that for counsel when he gets back up.
Okay.
You know, to kind of further that, you're 499 square feet from doubling the size of the house. Okay, at now, whatever, 2,900, 2,915 or whatever it is. It'd be nice to know how many other houses on the street are close to 3,000 square feet. Any other questions? Go ahead, John.
I had a question, I mean, along those lines, I mean, we're going up from, the requirement is up to 36%, which is 2,160, going up to 2,915. It's an addition of extra of 755 square feet.
755, yes.
Was there any thought given to mitigate that? I mean, as maybe an appropriate question for the architect, but just generally, was there any thought given to moderate that increase?
When we were here in October, it was larger, and obviously you don't have to compare what we presented in October to what we presented today. But we reduced the proposal and the addition significantly. I don't know if I have that dimension here, but we pulled back the rear yard addition. The previous one. Okay, so the dotted line on V2 shows the previous plan that we had originally done, and we pulled it back by 5 feet in the basement, first floor and second floor, across the entire addition.
I think it still comes to 35% above.
Correct. But as I mentioned to you, that's why I had asked the architect to put the furniture on the plans, just to really look at how the house itself would function.
I'm not exactly sure decorating has much of a impact on the variance request.
I understand, but from my perspective, I was like, I need to justify the variance in the floor area, and I want to look at, are you adding an additional 6-7 feet that are not necessary to have the house function?
Any other questions from the board?
Just briefly, and this feels frivolous. And I am sensitive to budgetary concerns. The architect had said there is no plan to do greenery, but I think you mentioned greenery. So new landscaping or not new landscaping?
Well, the greenery in the back, I think, was just going to be lawn area. I don't believe
Oh,
that,
that's the greenery. Okay,
Yes.
But no new landscaping to the front.
there's no landscape plan at this point in time.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else?
So one more question, there was a terrace in the front, what are the dimensions of that? I mean, it's not shown on the plans, is that?
There's portico?
No, I think there was, the neighbor had talked about terrace in front, and the architect mentioned there was no plans to change that, if I got that right.
Was that a terrace or was that a retaining wall?
Was that,
The retaining wall, you can see in the top photograph, second one in from the left. It's not really a terrace, it's just because the slope drops off significantly, and you can see that in the photographs right below that, headed down to the B2 district by the Wendy's.
So the front yard is terraced, and it's sort of the way it's built. You get a plateau, then you drop down like a couple feet, and then you go to the house.
Correct.
I think that's what.
Oh,
you're referring to, correct?
Gotcha.
So.
Show this on my phone. I don't know. That's-
Oh, I have that.
that's
Yeah.
good.
Any other questions from the board?
Just a point, actually. Since we're looking at this for the first time, Rob, the fact that they've reduced that extension by 5 feet means nothing here, right?
It doesn't mean anything because they're starting anew tonight. Although that they can say that in the course of deciding about the design of the house, they originally had it a certain size and they decided to reduce it.
Yes, right. From your perspective, this is the first application you're seeing. But just for your consideration, we definitely looked at reducing it based upon the functionality and
There are
how.
other alternatives, it could be
Obviously, yes.
3-foot setback comparative.
Yes.
Any other questions? Any questions from the audience, please?
Comments?
Questions right now?
Thank you very much.
Sure, thanks. Anything else? In that case, I'll open up to comments from the audience, and Mr. Pearl, if you'd like to come forward. At this point, we will have to swear you in.
Okay. Do you swear affirm testimony about to give and these proceedings to be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Your name and address for the record.
Andrew Pearl, Pearl, 10 Mount Ararat Road. Sure is. Okay, so I guess I have three concerns perhaps. The first one would be financial. Is this house going to? I know it's not really your concern, but how is that going to impact the resale of my home? So I think that a larger, nicer house perhaps is something to my advantage. So I'm not here to say that I am totally not okay with this house. This is the first time I saw the plan, and I agree that it does have kind of a boxy appearance to it, which, I mean, that street has some smaller houses and some larger houses on it. Does it fit in with the aesthetic? I think you all are probably more qualified to render that decision than I am. Mount Ararat is a private road, which you guys are probably very familiar with. It represents some interesting issues that we have to deal with. One is that we can park on the road overnight without being ticketed. And there's a lot of that on our street. The other thing is about 3 or 4 years ago, we pooled our resources and had the street repaved. And so I'm concerned about a large construction project with large vehicles coming over our road, and what kind of responsibility would they have under those circumstances if there was any wear and tear as a result of that situation. It was a pretty big ordeal for us to get organized to be able to.
Is there an association?
Not like a formal one. Kind of tried to come up with an informal one, but there's been quite a bit of changeover, and so no.
Do you know, I'm sorry I'm interrupting you.
Sure.
Is the road owned by any particular property owner?
I think it's a private road. I think it's shared, as far as I understand.
What's that?
It's typically the way, it's typically shared by all the property owners.
Right, I mean, I'm just curious whether it has its own individual lot.
I think we all own a portion of it, I think, is kind of how it plays out, but I don't really
Mr.
know.
Sun, that's not depicted on the tax map. It's not. But
Okay, so
Which
if
means
it's-
what?
If it's not depicted on the tax map, that means that it doesn't have its own individual lot number or identification, which would mean that it's probably part of the adjacent lots that form that neighborhood.
So I own part of the street, and that's what I understood.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of hard to explain. And the middle picture, when you're looking down the driveway, you can see a large pine tree to the right, and extending down, there are 6 large pine trees, which I planted when the Bagels for You ripped up some large trees, which had created a barrier. So there were these large dumpsters that my living room was just staring down at, and it was very unfortunate. So I planted these through the permission of the mall. I planted these, which have taken very nicely. We've been using that. We used my neighbor to the right sometimes uses that area to park their cars in, just to not have it obscure the road. But the neighbors have been using it as well. And at one point they were, so I guess, where am I going with this? I'm concerned about that whole idea of parking. If there's a family of 7 people and I don't know how many drivers there are going to be, one long driveway, how are they going to manage those cars? And are those cars going to be all over the street? I don't think that the owners of the house have been particularly forthcoming with you guys in terms of the current use of the house. So the construction company is living in the house, and they have been living in the house for quite some time. The owner came to me several months after they purchased the house with bearing gifts, saying that somebody had tried to squat in the house, which I seemed kind of ridiculous to me. And that because of that, they were going to have some of their employees of their lucky construction company stay in the house. There were days where there were 5 or 6 large construction vehicles parked in the driveway and along the street. They've been taken to pulling up on the front of their house, so there are large mudded ruts like on the front property. And they also park in that area that I was referring to before. Since our first hearing and since they saw all of us show up, I think they kind of changed their behavior a little bit. But I just feel like there's like bad blood, and I don't know if that has any weigh on your decision. I just feel like they're not the most forthright in terms of the things that they're saying, and I think that we all need to be very careful. And I'm concerned about the parking as an extension of the promises that they're making versus the reality of how they're going to behave. So those are, I think, fairly significant concerns. Did I explain myself well? Does that make sense? No? Okay, so I guess those are my concerns. One, I think that it will improve my house, the value of my home. I think that the aesthetics of the house is so-so, but I think that a larger modern house will be a good thing for me. I'm concerned about the landscaping, which I expressed. The backyard of their house, that one door is only a portion of the mess that's back there. And there are buckets that are hanging down, that there's a huge puddle that forms every time it rains. There's lots of debris and garbage that was not photographed that's back there. So it's been an eyesore. And I just feel like, and they're misusing the property right now because the family's not living there, and they have never lived there. Construction workers are living there, and that's not how the house is zoned for. I believe it's misuse. So those are concerns.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I just comment about that? So I think in the board's review and deliberation of the application, that they should, the board members should not take into consideration the statements that were just made regarding the use of the home. I believe whether it's truthful or not truthful, I'm not judging one way or another, of course, is that's an enforcement issue, a zoning enforcement issue. And this board is not here as a zoning enforcer. We're here to review applications for variances, et cetera. So I'm instructing you not to take that portion of the testimony into consideration in your deliberation.
Very well. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Anything further, Mr. Stone? No. Any other comment from the audience? Okay, then I will close the public portion of this application. So board members, your thoughts?
Just to remind you, there's a FAR variance, requires 5 affirmative votes. We'll take a separate vote for the FAR variance and for this.
Mr. Chairman, before anybody comments on it, I'll raise the issue I raised before with the planner. Are we going to expect more information?
Well, I look this way. I would make our comments, and depending on where that heads, then council can determine whether or not they want to move forward and with a vote, or to adjourn for potentially addressing any concerns.
Good.
So I'll start off by saying I have some major concerns with this application. We've got a conforming lot, we've got a huge ask for the floor area ratio. I mean, the size of the house that they're trying to build. I mean, not all properties are capable of, are meant for, handling, a certain size house. And I think that this is a perfect example of it. I think the massing on this, and especially with the way that it's designed, is gonna be huge and completely out of character for the neighborhood. And frankly, I don't see the hardships that would necessitate, granting this kind of application. So I'm really concerned about it.
I would echo exactly the same thing. We have building coverage, that's an enormous deviation, along with floor area ratio, which is an enormous deviation. And to me, when you see those two things combined, it's not often that you do, that creates a overwhelmingly large structure. And that is, I think, going to be to the detriment of the master plan and the zoning plan in terms of C2. I don't see this as a C1 at all. As Jessica mentioned, that we have a lot that's 60 by 100, the sort of quintessential R6 lot. And this is a very large home, a 5-bedroom home in a neighborhood that's primarily 1.5-story homes. And this, I think, is not in keeping with the neighborhood, and a very, very large structure that I think would just look out of place.
I'll go next. I completely agree with everything that you've said. I feel like it's unfortunate. I'm sensitive to the fact that the homeowner wants to bring his family in. I'm sensitive to the budgetary concerns, but I feel like for this house in this place, it's too much of an ask. It will be out of place. I would not support this application the way it is.
Agreed. I also would not support the application the way that it is.
Yeah, I guess on the positive side, I'm not saying I support the application, but on the positive side, I like the idea that they're fixing up the property and that the lot coverage is reduced and we're creating some green space. Those things I like. And beyond those things, I think my sentiments would echo what everyone else has said. And perhaps in addition to that, my concern about, we've seen other properties come before this board where people are creating spaces for the grandparents, and that is the intention, but thinking about the future of the property, what does that space become down the road? This is essentially, from the way I see it, creating another apartment in the basement level, and that's also a concern for me, not so much for this, but how does that run with the house going forward?
All right, I'll go. The fact that it's sandwiched between, not sandwiched, but like kind of in an island with a couple of commercial zones behind it, it's tough, a tough location. That being said, I don't think the answer to that is to make it really, really big to fight that power. I would put a whole bunch of buffer zones in, and I would do a completely different thing anyway. That being said, I am not supportive of this application.
Would you like us to vote, sir?
Not really, no. Can I have a moment?
With your client? Or?
Yes.
Please do. Yeah, it's fine. What do you want to do?
There's translation going on. Can we have just a couple more minutes, please?
Sure.
Who's trying to get in? Well, like that.
Camera on.
Yeah, but I'd have to go.
Oh, you can't just pull it up remotely?
No. I did kind of- What?
Mr. Chairman, we'd like the ability to revise the plan.
Okay, what's our schedule look like?
How much time do you think you might need? March 18th, April 1st.
April 1st.
If I could just, if you're gonna be doing revisions, we had a recent ordinance, well, the ordinance change at the end of the year regarding front yard setback. So, since the two properties to the right of the subject that we're using are commercial, and we're doing a residential to the left of the property, our new ordinance is prevailing front yard setback, which would be the 3 to the left, 3 to the right to come up with an average. And in this, because they don't default to 40 feet anymore. So if you can provide that, it actually might be less than 40 feet, depending on what it is.
Okay, for the audience's purpose, this application will be carried to, was it, you said April 4th? April 1st? April 1st?
He's not gonna, I know. I don't vote, so. Anybody could take notes, it's no big deal.
Last time I
No,
messed
but
up.
also, we don't want to lose
Yeah, I know.
a voting member.
I know you're gonna be wet.
So, can you do March?
Or April 15th.
You're gonna wanna have some time if you're gonna do
Yeah.
revised plans and then.
Well, let's leave it at April 1st.
We could do April 1st, we could, carry it at that time.
Yeah, I mean, we'll give you an attendance list for, trust me, so,
Just
like I
need
said,
Gary
I see.
to-
But we're gonna lose Mr. Caulfield. Yeah,
right, but if
We'll have Gary.
Gary gets up to speed, which he will,
okay.
you're gonna pick him up, so, you know, that's kind of how it goes, and so could Derek,
Yeah.
he can get up to speed too, so I'm not too worried about having a number for you, so.
So April 1, if we can be ready,
Yes,
and if not, we can do
Let us
something for
know.
scheduling.
sure, so at this point,
And
Mr.
I'll
Earl,
advise you if we.
anyone else that may, the viewer at home, we we'll move this to April 1st, no further notice. Please check the website, and, feel free to call town hall if you're interested in coming to that next year.
Without further notice?
No further notice, right. And with that, any other comments from the audience regarding anything that's on the agenda this evening?
Thank you.
Sure. If not, I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Have a good evening.